and the dollar is going to have a lot of problems. All currencies are going to have a lot of problems. And so before the decade is over, everybody's going to know that money goes up and down.
Welcome to Rethinking the Dollar. Today I'm excited to have my guest, Mr. Jim Rogers. He's an American businessman, investor, and financial commentator, as well as author. Jim is currently based in Singapore, and he's the chairman of Beeline Interest Incorporated. And today I'm excited to have him join us today to give us his thoughts on the global economy, as well as the future status of the dollar. So Jim Rogers, welcome to Rethinking the Dollar.
I'm delighted. I know it's going to be fun for both of us.
All right, sounds good. So usually starts off Rethinking the Dollar with a few questions. And the first question is, what comes to mind when Jim Rogers hears the words rethinking the dollar?
Well, everybody should rethink the dollar every day, especially these days, because the dollar is, it's always extremely important to everybody, whether you're an investor, just a simple citizen, whatever you are, because the dollar is the money which we use in the United States, and it's the most important currency in the world because nearly everybody else uses it indirectly, if nothing else. Most people don't have a clue about the dollar. It's just the money they use. That's all they know. When they go buy popcorn, that's what they use. But all currency is much, much, much more important than that. So I'm delighted to know that you're bringing attention to the dollar, to the currency, because in the next decade, if not much sooner, we're going to have gigantic currency turmoil, and that's going to affect everything. When you buy that popcorn, you're going to know a lot more about the value of your money than you do right now.
Right. Well, good explanation.
I'm glad you're talking about it, and the dollar is going to have a lot of problems. All currencies are going to have a lot of problems, and so before the decade is over, everybody's going to know that money goes up and down, etc.
All right, sounds good. Now, how important is it, in your opinion, for global citizens globally, as well as Americans, to really begin taking an interest in subject matters such as this, whether it be monetary policy or financial education? Is it important right now, you think?
It's very, very important, especially now, because the fluctuations are going to affect your standard of living, your wages, the cost of what you buy, whether you can buy some things or not, your taxes. It's going to cause turmoil in the financial markets. You're going to see bankruptcies because of what's happening with the currencies. You're going to see a lot of huge surprises. You may not pay much attention to currencies right now, and most people don't. You will before long.
All right. Now, if you were given a chance to be in front of an audience globally and was asked to give what would be called the global state of the economy address, what would Jim Rogers say if you were speaking in front of the 7 billion people on the planet, if it was possible?
Well, I do speak a lot of times, Mike, and what I would say to them is please become knowledgeable. Watch Mike's show and programs like that. Then once you become knowledgeable, you're going to get very worried about what's going on in the world. And once you get very worried, I hope that you get prepared, because what's going to happen is worse than anything you have seen in your lifetime, and we're all going to be extraordinarily affected.
Wow.
Be worried.
Be worried. Okay, now, before we get into the details of what that means as far as be worried and what we're concerned about, I wanted to get your take on this current presidential cycle we're going through. And so President-elect Trump is now scheduled to become our next president. Bless you. And so what's your thoughts on President Trump? Will he help, solve or ease some of the pain, or is nothing he can do? What are your thoughts on Trump?
Well, the problems are coming no matter who is president. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, it doesn't really matter. If Mother Teresa were the president, we're still going to have these problems. The world has huge problems facing us. Now, granted, they mainly start in Washington, D.C., and that'll be a major factor. But no, it's going to happen either way. The reactions by Washington, D.C. will cause other consequences, but the reactions in London, Tokyo, Beijing, many places are going to have effects on what's happening next. This is not just a simple statement. The world economy now is all intertwined. Everything that happens here affects here. It's not just one person anymore, or even one capital. But it's going to happen no matter who's president, or if nobody's president. It might be better if nobody were president. But either way, we're going to have serious problems.
Right. Now we're currently coming towards the end of 2016. Is there anything you're keeping an eye on in particular as we head into the 2017 time frame? Is there anything that's on your mind or concerning you the most?
Well, obviously, what's happening in the world, everything that, as I said, is interconnected now. You cannot just ignore something. Usually when problems start, Mike, they start with some place that nobody's watching. In 2007, Iceland went bankrupt. Well, most people never heard of Iceland. They knew nothing about it. But then that spiraled. Next thing you knew, Ireland was bankrupt. Next thing you knew, Bear Stearns was bankrupt. The next thing you knew, Lehman Brothers. So these things start small and then escalate. So whatever I'm watching, and trying to watch everything, I'm sure there's some place out there that I'm not even thinking about right now where this is all going to start and then it snowballs. We're already starting to see stock markets around the world are already going down. Most stocks everywhere are going down, so it's already starting to happen. I suspect it will happen with some bankruptcies we haven't thought about, and then who knows. But at the moment, I'm certainly watching currencies, especially the U.S. dollar. I own a lot of U.S. dollars for a variety of reasons, and then we go from there.
All right. Now, what's your thoughts? I just recently posted on my Instagram as well as my Facebook some graphs, basically saying that we're at 19,000 for the Dow and closing in on 20,000 for our national debt. Now, do you think there's going to be some type of correction in the stock market, especially the Dow, anytime soon, or can it continue to rise to unforeseen heights, or as well as the national debt as well, because they're both 19,000-ish, or 19 is their starting numbers right now?
Well, the debt's certainly going to go higher no matter what. I guarantee the debt's going to go higher every day on your chart. And 19, by the way, is just what they admit to. There's a lot of off-balance sheet debt. There's a lot of other debt that they won't tell us, that they don't tell us about.
Right.
So that's going higher and higher every day. The stock market can certainly go higher these days. It is going higher. It's mainly the big stocks, though. And what's happening, and people are worried about what's happening in the world. And so a lot of money is coming into the U.S. to escape the turmoil they see elsewhere, coming into the U.S. dollar. People think, Mike, around the world, think that the U.S. dollar is a safe haven. It's not. We'll talk about that in a minute. But everybody thinks, they have the perception that the U.S. dollar is a safe haven for historic reasons. So when they get scared, they put their money into U.S. dollars. So the U.S. dollar is going higher and higher. It's amazing. I mean, that's why I own a lot of U.S. dollars. Not because I think it's a great place to be, but because I know the turmoil is coming. I know people will be scared, and the dollar will get overpriced. It might even turn into a bubble, Mike, before it's over. But then, when everybody starts saying, wait a minute, this is crazy, they start looking at the real fundamental situation of the U.S. dollar, then they're going to dump their U.S. dollars. I hope I'll get out first, and we're going to have a gigantic crisis.
Wow. Now,
be worried, Mike.
Be worried. Yeah, I try not to worry much just because I'm still a young guy and I have kids, and so I try to inform myself on ways of how to prepare and how to, not necessarily go under, but yet come out unscathed or on top or with minimum casualties on my part. So, but now let's talk about the whole bond market and a massive sell-off that's taking place now. Is this because they're wanting to liquefy their holdings and get out of treasuries and get into the dollar in preparation for, or what's your thought on that? Because everyone's selling bonds, it seems like, and who's buying them?
Well, the U.S. bond market's been going up for 35 years. It hit its low in September of 1981. If you go back and look at bond markets in America, especially in America, you see, Mike, that they're very long-term trends. The U.S. bond market went down for 35 years before that, starting in 1946 until 1981. It went down, a long bear market. And before that, it was the opposite. We had a long bull market. So bond markets, for whatever reason, at least in the U.S. in the past 100 or so years, or maybe longer, have had very, very long cycles. This cycle went up for 35 years. Now, it didn't have to be 35 years. Coincidentally, it has been 35 years. In my view, that is now coming to an end. Interest rates got to almost nothing, well, to nothing in some countries and below nothing. And so it's coming to an end.
Yeah.
Nothing goes on forever, including a 35-year bond market in the U.S. bond.
Yeah.
It's coming to an end. Now, more and more people are getting out. More and more people will get it, just because they know bonds are going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the only one that knows this 35-year long bull market in bonds is coming to an end. More and more people realize it and are getting out. As I said, bull markets cannot go on forever. That's why bonds are going down. There will certainly be rallies along the way. Nothing goes straight down or straight up.
Mm-hmm.
There are always rallies in anything, but you will see 5 years from now, 10 years from now, bond interest rates in the United States will be much, much, much higher.
Right. Now, could you ever have, throughout your entire years of investing and being in the industry that you're in, could you ever imagine a negative, territory, a world where, people will be willing to give away their money just to not lose it all right away? Did you see this coming, basically?
That's what's happening in a lot of the world right now. Governments are making people pay them to hold their money for them. I certainly never would have conceived of that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but it is happening now. Will it happen in the U.S.? Conceivably.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. government may, as they realize this bond bull market is coming to an end, may try to force us. In the U.S., it would take a lot of force.
Mm-hmm.
The market is so big, so much money, so many people, but they may try. I doubt that it's going to work because all over the world now people realize, wait a minute, what are these people doing?
Yeah.
They're ruining us. You were taught, Mike, when you were a child, to save your money for the future, and things would be okay in the end. Well, many of us were. But all of the people who were taught to save their money for the future are now being ruined. Mm-hmm. Because interest rates are nothing. You save your money, you get no return on it. And so everybody's suffering.
Yeah.
The people who did things right are all suffering.
Right.
Insurance companies are being wiped out. Pension plans are being wiped out. Trust companies are being wiped out. Endowments are being wiped out because of this absurd policy. And all the people who try to do it right are being ruined to save the people who didn't do it right, the people who ran up big debts with no income, no assets, the people who borrowed huge amounts of money. And so now the people who did it right are getting unhappy and don't want to continue playing this game.
Right.
So I don't know how long they can play it, but they may try.
Right. Now let me touch on the banking sector briefly. I'm assuming you follow all the the mainstream news. We're dealing with Deutsche Bank and Royal Bank of Scotland, all the banks that are really insolvent for the most part, and they're trying to figure out what to do. Now, do you see that type of thing being the catalyst for the major day of awakening, or can some things in the United States begin to really play into this whole banking issue with the globally systemically important banks? Do you keep an eye on a lot of those?
Well, I have to, because I know most of them are insolvent, as you point out. Even I think some of them know they're insolvent now. Bear Stearns didn't know they were insolvent. Lehman Brothers didn't know they were insolvent. They thought everything was okay. Donald Trump didn't know he was bankrupt the few times he went bankrupt. I remember once in 1987, I was interviewing in a book, and I said to the guy, I said, well, Donald Trump is bankrupt but doesn't know it. And the book came out, and lo and behold, not too much longer than that, Donald Trump went bankrupt. But most people who go bankrupt don't realize it. When you go bankrupt slowly, and then all of a sudden, it hits.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening with most of the banks and the countries in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
People are not aware of how bad things are.
Right.
And if you're the head of Deutsche Bank, well, Deutsche Bank, now. But some of the banks, they didn't know. There were all these guys down in the back office playing with these derivatives. They didn't know what derivatives were up at the top.
Yeah. Now, from your perspective, you kind of forecast or prophesied the fact that Donald Trump was bankrupt before he even knew it. So is there something that there's some measurements that you kind of were measuring by for investment sake that kind of gave you the heads up as to the solvency of these people and industries, or what are some things you look at that kind of gave you the idea?
Well, it's not. I mean, I've been investing for a long time, so there are always these signs that you see. Mm-hmm. You see pell-mell race into more debt, expansion very, very rapidly, expansion into markets that may be not so cheap anymore. It's a cycle. I mean, the snowball develops, And people, of course, get this idea, well, it couldn't happen to me.
Hmm.
I'm not going to go bankrupt. Look how smart I am. I've grown like this. You know, I must be a very, very smart guy, a very, very smart woman. Deutsche Bank. I mean, Deutsche Bank. I'm the largest bank in Germany. I'm the most important bank in Europe. I may be the most important bank in the world, or one of them.
Hmm.
People never think. They
Yeah.
just think they're smart. They read the same press you and I do.
Yeah.
And everybody says, well, this is the Deutsche Bank. It's very, very important. Look at what they're doing. Look at all the good things they're doing. And nobody sits and says, wait a minute. The emperor doesn't have any clothes. There's a problem here.
Yeah.
And nobody's examining it.
Yeah.
That's what happened in Iceland. That's what happened everywhere. These things happen. Nobody's paying attention. Nobody believes it could happen, except some little guy who says, he doesn't have any clothes on. There's a problem here.
It's usually a kid, a younger kid, or someone who's completely inexperienced that don't know that they shouldn't be saying that out loud, who usually comes out with the truth.
That is often the case. Yes, that is often the case. But frequently before that young guy says it, some of the old guys start moving out.
Yeah.
They just start moving out. They know there's a problem. They're not smart enough or don't care enough to say it out loud.
Yeah.
It's the little kid, you're right, the little kid who doesn't know he's not supposed to say it, who says it out loud. But in the meantime, some of the smart guys say, I'm going home.
Yeah. Now, a couple more questions, and I'll let you get about your day. Now, we have the FOMC meeting coming up in December, and they're, forecasting, it's an 88%, 99% chance they're going to raise rates, a quarter percent. Now, do you think, the fact that they've waited so long, that it even really makes a difference anymore if they decide to raise or not, or what?
Well, the market, Mike, if you go back historically, you'll see that usually the Federal Reserve follows the market. I know they get big press and everybody's going on and on about, oh, the Federal Reserve raised interest rates today. But if you look back historically, you will see that the market is usually started raising rates even before the Federal Reserve, and then they follow.
Mm-hmm.
As I said before, interest rates have already started going up. Bonds have already started going down. So I'm sure they'll raise interest rates in December. But my point is a bigger point than that is watch the market. The market really sets interest rates in the end. The Federal Reserve gets the press. The market is much bigger than any central bank.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I have learned in life is that if you bet against the central banks, you're probably going to be very successful in the end because they're just bureaucrats. I mean, they're academics. They don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
They can't get a real job. That's why they work for the government.
Mm-hmm.
So if you watch the market, you're going to do much better than just watching the central banks.
Right. So you mentioned betting against the central banks. For someone who's, watching this interview, may have just come across this message, may have come across you, for example, who don't know the full scope of, things. What are some ways that they can begin taking small steps to bet against the central bank?
From timing is something I'm not very good at, Mike. I may be the world's worst market timer. No, not maybe. I am the world's worst market timer. So don't really rely on me. Everybody has to figure these things out for themselves.
Right.
I can see big trends or have been somewhat successful at that in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I see the signs, but I'm usually too early.
Right.
I learned early in life that I'm always too soon. I assume everybody knows what I know.
Mm-hmm.
Then I found out they don't. So I figured, well, I'll wait. I'll wait after I see something. I still get it too early because I'm just not clever enough to outsmart most people.
Yeah.
And so I'm always usually too early. So I don't listen to me is the main message. Don't listen to me about the timing.
Okay.
And listen to watch the things that are happening.
Okay, so here's the scenario. Then we'll kind of wrap this up with this. Right now in India, they removed the 500 and 1,000 rupee note. And so there's 3 billion or so people, or give or take, in India who didn't foresee anything like that happening overnight the way it came at them. So now they're scrambling to get rid of this worthless paper. Now, that whole scenario there, happened out of the blue. And so that same type of catastrophic event could happen in the United States. And of course, there's a mad rush to precious metals, predominantly gold. And so with that whole thing transpiring there, the whole cashless society push, do you ever foresee something like that in the U.S. where, the purchase power minimizes and there's a rush into precious metals, which has usually been historically some type of, savior or savings from the paper fiat currency system?
I own gold and silver. I have for decades. I've never sold any. give some away at times, small coins and things. But yes, that's going to happen worldwide before this is over. I'm not buying gold and silver at the moment. In fact, I've hedged my gold and silver at the moment, some of it. But if gold goes down more, my plan is I'll buy more. Well, I hope I buy a lot of gold and silver before this is over. If it does go down to where I think it might, at that point, when gold starts going up the next time, Mike, as these crises, this turmoil comes, which I mentioned before, gold then is going to turn into a bubble of its own. It's going to skyrocket because people will be panicking. When people lose confidence in government and when people lose confidence in paper money, historically, they have looked at gold and silver. Whether they should or not, Mike, is totally irrelevant. That's what people have always done, and that's what people will do again. So I am not buying gold at the moment. I am waiting for an opportunity to buy gold cheaper. When it does, I hope I put a lot of money in it. Remember I told you the dollar's going to get overpriced, maybe to a bubble?
Right.
If I get it right, which is unlikely, but if I get it right, I will sell my dollars at that point, and then possibly and probably I'll put the money in gold, because gold, if the dollar goes up a lot, historically, gold goes down. Not always, sometimes. So if I get it right, dollar goes up, gold goes down, I sell my dollars, I buy a lot of gold. And then gold turns into a bubble. Oh, Mike, I'm going to be so rich. It's as easy. It's as easy just sitting here telling you how it's all going to make us both rich.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I expect to happen for Mike. Every time in my life that I've said I've got it all figured out, I'm going to be rich, something goes wrong.
Right.
So again, I'm going to be careful because I know something else can always happen.
All right. Well, Jim Rogers, I thank you for taking your time out today to sit down and give us a little bit of thought into your world. And so I appreciate you sitting down. Is there any particular way the audience who might be coming across you for the first time can, follow your work, hear your thoughts more often, anywhere to direct them, or just tell them to keep their eyes out and open for Jim Rogers?
Not on Facebook. I'm not on any of those things. There's some imposters that have gone on and used my name. My lawyer tries to make them stop. So, but I'm not on any social media. I guess you can read my book. I've written some books.
Yeah.
I'm occasionally interviewed by people like you, so you can see it on YouTube or Google or whatever those places are. Find it that way. My latest book is called Street Smarts: Adventures on the Road and in the Markets. But I don't have a blog. I don't have any of that stuff.
Not a problem.
There are imposters. I repeat, there are imposters. But I don't have anything to do with it.
All right. Well, not a problem. So all you do is Google Jim Rogers, and you'll come across your school of thought and your way of doing things. So appreciate you sitting down with me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and look forward to continue to follow your work and keep an eye on what's going on around us. Trying not to stay too worried. So.
Okay, Mike. Be careful. Be worried.
Enjoy your day.
Okay. Be very worried. Bye-bye.
Well, this concludes today's conversation with Jim Rogers from Beeland Interest Incorporated. Hope you found our conversation to be informative as well as educational. If you're new to RTD, click the subscribe button to be informed of more RTD interviews as well as monetary news updates. And also feel free to share this message with family and friends to help them become more aware. Looking forward to bringing you more interviews. Until next time, have a good one.